There we go. That should do it. Let's just double check the audio here. Now that we're rolling. Cool. All right. Let's just check some other preferences. Make sure everything is good to go. All right. Alex is in the house. Get in here. And I want to talk about VP-4. I wanted to talk about some, creative stuff when it comes to using effects and how to get things to sound super layered and super huge without your effects getting the cart in front of the horse, letting the dog, letting the tail wag the dog kind of thing. It's easy to get the effects out of control where they're in the way, right? And you end up at a default scenario. Maybe you're on the gig and there's nothing but effect, or you can't hear the effect at all, and a lot of this is in spatial placement. I think 90% of effect usage when it's working really well is about is about where it's spaced in the left and right spectrum, not just being all right, mono, boom, there it is. That tends to be a recipe that works if you have less effects going on. Like if you're a tele country player and you got a little bit of delay, a little bit of reverb coming from the amp, and that seems to be the thing. Now, Edwin Woods, he chimes in here with it. Too much effect sucks. It's got to be subtle. I don't know if I agree with that, Edwin. I think it's situational. There's a lot of really great tones that I love that are drenched in effects, right? Like I always come back to the, the Van Halen tones from the Hagar era, like that era sounds great, and it's just drenched with everything, it just sounds like there's just effects everywhere. That's definitely one where it stands out that the effects are huge, but they're never in the way of the playing. Another example of that would be some of the stuff that was being used in the 90s. I specifically think of Stone Temple Pilots. I hope Sean Tubbs joins us today because he's worked with those guys. But like right, like that. Those songs on the Stone Temple Pilots stuff, they sound good. You know what I mean? And I think of some of the like the clean intro to Rooster on that clean, watered out. You're hearing the Herbert right now. Let me jump over to the clean channel. Such a well, that's too loud. Hang on. Something that's like that's a really great watery kind of sound too. Now here's the deal, Edwin. I don't think you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? I think he's saying here that it's just taste buds and he prefers more raw. It's all really in what you're trying to evoke. Now look, I named this about how to use effects, so I think it would be kind of a failure if I talked about, you know, the best guitar tones or raw guitar tones. I think that's not really serving the purpose of what we're trying to do. So let's talk about some good basic approaches to guitar tone when you're using a lot of effects. And I think it all kinds of starts and stops with delay and reverb. I've got a basic patch set up here that is my you know, kind of default, you know, lead tone thing. Okay, let's start from scratch in a tone. And you know, I guess for practical purposes, let's jump over to the let me jump over to the SL68. Let's do that real quick. And I'm using a KHE amp switcher. That allows me to jump between amps really easy. So right now you've got the SL68. Nice and dark. I love it. Let's jump into I'm going to copy this block real quick. And I'm using the VP-4, and it's after the amplifier. You can do this in several ways. You can do it with a VHT Fryette power station. You can do it with an aux or a SIR load box or whatever. You basically coming out of your amp into a SIR load box, from that going into the VP-4 and letting it do your split into your interface. It's really simple. I'm going to say it one more time. Any load box come out of your amp, like into the SIR reactive load, and then the IR out of that into your VP-4, that's line level, and then out of your VP-4 into your interface. Really nice and simple. So I've got an EQ block that I like, and I'm just going to copy that over and put that into this vanilla patch that we're gonna build here. So the reason I'm doing that is I set my amp really dark. I set it really dark so I can add my overdrive pedals and they be really smooth. Nice and smooth and chewy. Here's some the Woodshed compressor on there. And for these in-between tones, I'll use this a little bit of EQ to kind of shape that low mid. All right. With that in place, let's talk about the delay and reverb thing. So a lot of default guys, they go to, let's just say you're going to use a reverb. There's like the default like hall reverb, and it sounds fine. Here's a lot. Here's even more. Right? So it's fine. It's just reverb. For country stuff, I kind of have a default of looking at spring reverb being the option, or kind of no reverb at all and letting the delay do it. For vanilla sounds, just vanilla rock stuff, I'll move around and jump from different reverbs to try out some different things to get it to sit correctly in the mix. One of the favorites is just a nice plate reverb, and that always a little bit goes a long way with that. And I switched the hall reverb to the plate right now. Let's listen to that. And so now I can creep that mix back down, but it still sounds nice and full. Nice. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I'm going to take this low end frequency at around, let's say 50 hertz. And I'm going to kind of turn that to a blocking. Clean up some of that low end a little bit, right? I'm still playing that song nonstop around the house. Right. It's really pretty tune. Okay, so with that reverb in place, that's kind of an on and off again thing. One of the things that I tend to do is live reverb is a last ditch scenario. For me, when I'm playing outside, let's say it's a big festival gig and it's super dry, the tone is just kind of dissipating the moment I hit the strings. That's where I'll step into bringing in a reverb to help me. But when I play a small venue like the theater or something like that, usually the amps are loud enough that they're creating enough reverb in the room that I don't need to add any reverb to the situation. Again, that's why I kind of gravitate towards this plate reverb. It allows it to just kind of be subtle and space it, right? So now the next effect that I think is crucial is delay and how you use the delay. For me, the default delay is, at this point in my life, stereos. That can be a dual delay or the Halo style delay, which I really gravitate towards, or a 2290. Let's just walk through what those three items will sound like. Let's start with a dry sound with no reverb or delay at all. Right? Okay. Now, for me, a starting point, if I don't have the Halo delay, we'll do the Halo last because that's my current favorite, and that's what I've been using for the past, I don't know, since it came out, the past 3 years or so. Maybe longer, 4 years. So I've been using the Halo nonstop. Let's do it last. If I have a basic, we'll go from least complicated to most complicated. So least complicated is just a standard digital mono delay. What you put in is what you get out. If you notice, it's a little cloudy. Like I can't just play. It makes those punches feel kind of weird, right? Because my mono signal's coming at you guys straight on, and the delay is just following it. It might sound nice for like a textural part. That kind of sells. But it's not great. It's there. Digital mono delays for me are the most attractive when I'm using them as a doubler. So let's talk about what that means. So at this point, the digital mono, I would move the milliseconds down to maybe 50. Oh, actually maybe even lower, maybe 35 milliseconds. And I'd move the feedback down to 0. And we're going to get one repeat really fast. Without it, okay, without it, I'm going to bring the mix up to about 45%. Now I'm stepping again. It starts sounding really 70s, and in my opinion, in a cool way, right? You know, they were probably doing this same effect in the 70s with a delay, a plate reverb with some pre-delay on that. But I find that it's kind of nice if you have a 35 millisecond or so. If you creep it down even farther, you get even more of a doubling effect. Let's pull it down to 25 milliseconds. That's a little too quick for my ear. So let's bring it back up to 30. Kind of a nice sound right there. You know. You know, it's kind of got some good stuff going on. You know, it's that thing. Or it may be not that thing, but it puts me in the mindset of that thing, right? It puts me in that headspace. So this is just kind of a neat way. If you've got two single digital monos, now you can set one really close like that. And then your second one can be about 500 milliseconds or so as a long delay. It's kind of a cool way to get some sense of depth in the guitar tone. So that's the mono thing, right? There's only so many ways you can skin the cat when you're doing it with mono. It's basically a more or less, or a fast or a slow. That's kind of what you're dealing with. To me, the magic with delay and the magic with effects in general is if you can live in a world where you're splitting to stereo. You could do this and be broke. Listen, listen to me. I've been getting some nice, colorful, hateful comments about my approach. You know, there's not many, but a couple have been nice and fiery, telling me that, you know, that my glorification, how was it worded? My American exceptionalism. And it was kind of alluding to the fact that I think, you know, he said that I think being rich is cool, which is very ironic because I come from a very low income family growing up. You know, my dad was a cop. We didn't have a lot of money. I had a PV Bandit. You know what I mean? Let me turn this down just a little bit. Okay. So these comments led me to think, it reminded me of when I started doing stereo on a budget. And that's where I'm going with this. You don't need to have all of this crap that I've got over here to do these tricks. You can do this with two Blues Juniors. That's how I used to do it. Two Blues Juniors is cheaper than every one of these amps in this rack, right? I think Blues Juniors go for about $400, right? Does that sound accurate? I feel like you can get on Reverb and find a Blues Junior for about $400. So you get two of those, and now all of your effects are split, and essentially you're doing the stereo trick. That's the point I want to make, is stereo is not a rich man's game. Stereo is not a touring professional's game. Like, it's really easy to look at someone like Tom Bukovac or myself even, who go out, and we have guitar techs and guys that are out there fighting on the front lines with touring. We have guys that are setting up our rigs and maintaining the rigs while we're on the road. Being in stereo has nothing to do with that. You don't have to have these mega budgets or a tractor and trailer or a guitar tech or any of that stuff to do a great stereo effect. This is something that every working clubbing guitar player, I did it when I was clubbing, and I did it with two Blues Juniors. Very cost effective way to do it. So, I mean, now you can just buy an AM4 and it's like, there it is. But like, let's just for argument's sake say you have two Blues Juniors. Now you can start doing the thing that I want to get into, which is spatial delays. Okay, my default trick for a nice spatial delay is having two delays at once. So let's now hear a stereo delay. Before we jump in, let's hear a stereo delay, which is digital stereo with some panning. Oh, my times are too fast. Let's put it back at 350. That'd be a default time. Now we can pan those left and right if we want to, right? We can spread that out, and they could be in different points of the spectrum. I want to take this a step further, and instead of just being what can you do with a digital stereo, let's talk about dual delays. That means you either have two Boss DD3 pedals, two sources of delay, or you have a singular pedal that can do this. This would be something like a Strymon timeline. Any of the Eventide stuff, of course, the VP-4 can do it. That's why I'm getting ready to do this right now. This is a trick where, think of your guitar signal being straight down the middle, and you're going to have a delay over here and a delay over here. This is the poor man's wet, dry, wet, right? For me, great default times 350 and 500. You're going to have 500 on one side, you're going to have 350 on the other. There you go. Listen at that. So now as I play, I've got that mix at 40%. That's a lot. But if you notice, the guitar is no longer cloudy. Let me just play a little bit more here. Just basic vanilla chords there. Really nice sounding, and the mix can be wet. Now here's the trick. This is really because your guitar is in the middle, and now your effects are out here. So it's not like guitar and the same source and the same point of sonic reference is coming from the guitar. It's coming around the guitar. So now we can fine tune this. I like to run the mix lower. Let's say 35%. And then on the feedback from the left is the fast one. I'm going to increase that to 50. So you see how now there's a lot of left? Let's bring up the long one to about 45. You need to always run the long one a little bit lower than the quick one. So here's my rule. It needs to be 40. Check it out. This is what I'm basing it on. I want it to go my guitar hit in the center, then the fast one, then the slow one, then the fast one, slow one, and then together. And then they'll start dissipating and they'll start turning into the same sound. Right? Listen again. Like I'm chugging away on a pretty heavy riff, and it's never cloudy, and that's a 35% wet mix, right? Turn this up. Let's pull it back up to 40. Let's pull it back up to 40% wet. that nice? So this is like, when you don't have the halo, this is a great way to kind of emulate the halo. Again, this is a really simple approach. This is 350, this is 500, and the feedbacks are really doing it right. I wait for them to bounce together. Bump, 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 right? Yeah. And they sound great in a mix. Let me just give you a quick hit of one of my songs. I don't know which song will work, but any song will work. Let's find one. I don't know what's play. They're all looking at me like, play me. Oh, whatever. This is fine. So there's a lot of horsing around in that style of playing, right? Just a lot of high intensity, high articulation, right? That's something that is important to me in the fundamental tone of the guitar. Is if I want to play fast, that I can hear all the notes. Okay, so to remind everyone from a sonic standpoint, this is how much delay we have going on. That's a lot. I keep playing that because we're gonna do that shit right. I want to hear all those notes. If I'm sloppy, then I'm sloppy. If I'm clean, then it pokes through. So again, if I don't know what's going on in a physical standpoint, and I've got delays laid out in front of me, I'm immediately going to try to get it stereo, and I'm going to try to get the delay rolling around in this dual delay fashion. Really great sounding. Okay, the next option is adding modulation. Let's turn this one off. And let's go to this digital mono again. Look how small that sounds. You know, put it at 35%. It doesn't sound at all this even close to the same kind of glory. Here comes the dual delay. Now let's go back to the mono. It sounds so cheap, right? And we're using the same box to do it, but one sounds really cheap and one sounds really expensive. And it sounds like you can hear the notes playing, you know, coming through a lot more. So that's just the digital versus the stereo kind of thing. Let's go to the next option, which is applying some modulation to a mono delay. Here's the mono delay with nothing. Now let's hear it with the modulation. You see how that mod is starting to smear it and get it to be stereo again? Sounds really nice, right? I mean, I'm digging that right there. That sounds nice. And this is, let me play it by itself. So it's kind of smearing it once it's hitting it. So what we've learned here is that, you know, before you start getting into things like choruses and pitch shifters, are you spacing your tone correctly? Like, are you giving the listener some sense of depth and dimension before you start adding in more? The term I like to use is like gag or gimmick, like gimmick tones or gimmick effects or gag effects. Gag effects would be like a whammy pedal or a wah or a rotary, something really obnoxiously obvious that an effect has been turned on, an octafuzz. These are gag effects. These are gimmick effects. What we're talking about right now is like on the fundamental side of it. My man Sean Tubbs has a really core approach where he kind of sets things at like, I think his number is like 250 milliseconds, something like that. And it's like a really kind of classic delay default that just sounds good all the time, right? Different than my approach. I have that love for the right here, right now Van Halen tone. Man, if you want a master class in how to do left and right stereo imaging and not get your tone lost in the mix, it's definitely that. That's at the round table of my favorite delays. Another one would be the combination of reverb and delay that Eric Johnson gets with the Austin City Limits era tones. that is, incredible. That's like combining the plate with a delay, like similar with what we got. This is like this kind of thing. Yeah. That's kind of that's like when you start blending that reverb and that delay together. Okay, now on to my favorite, which is the halo. So now let's go this here again. Here's the dry tone. Okay, let's put on this kind of sound. Now I'm going to add the halo delay. Now the halo delay is found in the VP-4, not under the delay block. It is found in the VP-4 under the multi-tap delay. Now this is really important because the multi-tap delay is a feature that's not in the AM4. There's the next couple of effects that we're going to talk about when we're talking about widening and spreading the tone is, I like to say it like that, widening the tone and making the tone wide. These next couple of effects they're not in the AM4, and it's because they're CPU hogs. So when you're dealing with a digital device that's running on processors and CPU, GPU, RAM type things, and you basically computer, your freaking iPhone. These next effects just hog it. They chew up all of your CPU. So that's why I like the VP-4, and I use real amps. So let's go to the Aurora delay, is what it's called in the Fractal VP-4. So now let's hear that. It's almost a reverb. It's really beautiful. Okay, so now let's go to my favorite thing to do with the delays, and that is to take the mix control of the delay and tie that to a pedal. So I'll tie that to pedal 1, and I'll say my parameter range will go up to maybe 38%. Okay. The max will be 38%. Or 35, 30, 30, 38. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, cool. Now that's done, I'm going to bring the microphone out here a little bit. And I'll show you why that's so valuable to me is I have an expression pedal tied to that. And with the heel down on the expression pedal, it's dry. Now, as I roll my foot forward, we start hearing the delay coming in. So I can tell that mix is pretty hot. Let's bring that total mix down to maybe 32%. See if that's better. We could probably have 33. Yeah. Now I'm going to play that same section of music as if it was a performance. And show you what I'm talking about. Let's move that back and I'll show you. Remember, heel down is dry. Toe down is wet. There you have it, and how that functions in the way that I use it to make, without having, basically what I'm dodging is, let me just start that over. Basically what I'm dodging is having to build redundancy presets, right? It means that I can have one preset and have all of my different amounts of delay within the preset. Sounds really nice. So that's the reason that the Aurora delay and the Halo means so much to me. Andy Timmons has been a mentor on a lot of this stuff, and I've really learned a lot from kind of being around him and working with him often. So that's a lot of that source of inspiration and knowledge, really. Like, I've gleaned so much knowledge from that guy. It's kind of unbelievable. So I owe him royalties, maybe forever. Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Cool. So now let's step into, I'm going to do one more effect today. And then let me ask you guys this. Would you be interested in an effects masterclass like this if it was something that I offered as an instructional, or maybe as segments that could be bought or purchased, like how I use delay volume 1, or how I use pitch shift and things like. Let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in, because I don't want to make something that you guys wouldn't be interested in. It's a bit of a testing bed to see if you think my approach to production and effects is interesting or not. Or not. So we're gonna do one more effect here, and it's gonna be pitch shift, because again, we're going to the idea that you can have your tone just slathered in sauce, verbs and delays and pitch shift, and it not be in the way of the core tone. That's really the number one thing. So in the pitch block, this is another block that's not available in the AM4, and it's a CPU hog. So if you're using the FM9, it's going to chew your CPU up like that. Okay, let's turn the pitch shift off right now. The first thing I do with a pitch shift is the classic -9 on the left and the 9, +9 on the right with a mix at about 40%. Okay, let's turn that on and see what we got. So it's a nice sound. But it's not as good as what I'm about to do, which is something that, you know, Leon Ragdoll has really got some great pitch shift algorithms, and I really like one it's changed it to the fixed shift to dual, and this is you know, in the -9 +9 thing, but the panning is different. So this was going to sound a little bit different. There's more fundamental tone in there. You hear a lot more notes in there. Dustin said, that's why I wanted your Helix presets. I was hoping you would have included a sort of tutorial because I'm more interested in how you would run that preset. Truthfully, I made the Helix presets on the little Helix Stomp. I just don't like their user interface. Truthfully, I just suffered through that process. I just don't like it. I'm on the record of saying it. Yes, I'll probably do some stadium patches. Yes, we're going to do Kemper patches. Yes, we're going to do everybody's patches. But it's like, I just don't like the interface. I think the interface for the Fractal's more... God, this sounds like such a lame thing to say. But I really believe it, so I'm going to say it. The Fractal's just more professional. You can get yourself into more trouble in the Fractal because the parameters go on for miles. But if you know what you're looking for, the Fractal is better. That's just my opinion, and nobody has to agree with it. That's just what I discover when I'm working. That's my workflow. So in this fixed shift, pitch shift, you can really water down the tones and get a nice sound. This is without the pitch shift. Now I'm going to bring in the pitch shift. forgot how I even played that. But you can hear that it's nice and crystal sounding, like glass shattering. Now we're going to roll up the delay. We can actually get away with a little more delay, I think. Let's make that maximum parameter a little bit higher. 40, yeah. Like, I think that's super nice. And that's like slathered in everything. Really nice. So we went from nothing. This is the core tone. Let's play the same riff again. Now let's go to the reverb. Notice it's not doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's not doing a lot of heavy lifting at all. Now let's bring in some delay. Now let's bring in the pitch. Great thing is you can play rhythm chords on this and it sound really good. You know, it's like yeah, it sounds great. No. It feels good, right? doesn't have to be 80s. It's really in just how you're playing the guitar. But at this point, you've given this really wide depth to and dimension to the tone without clouding it up. You know, look, like a chorus is so much more obnoxious. So let me, just for argument's sake, let's change the pitch block to a chorus. Let's listen to this one more time. Let's move this to a chorus. We'll just say dimension 1. See how not focused it is? Now we've entered the realm of this effect is a gimmick. It is meant to be a gag effect. It no longer feels like a fundamental effect, right? So like this versus the pitch shift we had, it's not even close to the same, in my opinion. That's the way that I kind of look at effects as, is this a gag or is it not? Like, so for instance, if I'm going to do Like a Stone by Audio Slave, I've got a core sound. You're right. That's a core sound of now if I'm going to step on that trim, see how it's starting to do the thing, right? Right? I think that's the part. Something like that. Right? So this is like a gag effect. It's meant to just be on in the verses, and then you open up and it goes to like, you know, it's set to the tempo of the song. That's another thing that's kind of unique. To me, a gimmick effect really locks into the tempo of the song, whereas the delays and stuff, if you notice that I wasn't tempo locking them, I was not like time matching them, because I wanted them to breathe, and with the stereo sound, everything is around the fundamental tone, right? Like here's the main source of, and then all this stuff's happening kind of around it. That's so important to me when getting into making the core fundamental tone sound really nice, right? Gimmick can be good or bad. Yeah. I mean, totally. Okay, so let's hit some of the chat here. I'm gonna fire up some questions. I'm gonna scroll kind of quick here. Yeah. Okay, hope everyone's doing good with everything this week. Thanks for being here as always. Go over to the store, buy you a t-shirt, and maybe get some of these effects patches. I've got a bundle for the AM4 that is finished and submitted, and Chuck's going to be loading it up to the online store at andywoodmusic.com. You can buy all those tones, and I actually use them. I tone matched with like my Herbert and stuff like that. So those are rocking. I'm going to be doing the same thing for this VP-4 unit and loading up a bunch of presets that you guys can use for your own. So yeah, all that stuff will be available on andywoodmusic.com, and then my Patreon members will be getting those ahead of time for just being Patreon members. So patreon.com/andywoodmusic will get you some of that good stuff. Sean Tubbs is in the house. Hey Andy, is that VP-4 the business? The last time I used Fractal was 2017. Axfx 2 was legit. I think the VP-4 is the Eventide H9 killer. I think the VP-4 is the most horsepower in a footprint that actually still makes sense for a pedal board. I'm actually using it right now just by itself, like after the aux and before my interface, just to where I can hear all of my amps with glorious stereo tone. It's really nice. And Sean, guys, Sean really knows his sounds. Make sure to go over his channel, subscribe to his videos, subscribe to his channel. He knows tone. He's one of the, he's one of the pride of Nashville, really. I mean, Sean's one of the best guitar players literally in the industry. Like, on earth right now. He is unbelievable. So make sure to go check him out if you're looking for especially overdrives and mid-gain tones. It's kind of hard. He's hard to beat on that stuff. Dave Music is saying, my rig's usually built around an amp cab. Room sounds both clean and dirty, then the reverb and a delay or two to taste. Exactly. That's kind of what we've been talking about today, right? It's just a very meat and potatoes kind of sound, except the difference is just getting the width. And go back and watch where I'm going in mono and then to stereo, and it's just like Jesus. It's like you were watching TV in black and white and then saw it in color. I mean, it's really magic when you start having the left and right thing happening. Yeah, so Steve, you guys are talking about Steve Stevens in the same kind of way. Steve very much subscribes to that dual delay kind of thing. I see that going on in chat. Totally, it's a short, long for depth. Yeah, the short delay. I mean, at this point. Oh, okay. Dustin Chang says, please define dual mono versus stereo. I think I get mixed up with these. A stereo delay can be something that's like a ping pong delay where it's bounce, 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 and it does that thing, right? That also may be something where it goes stereo, but it's just bouncing. It's giving the image in stereo, so it can go to 2 amps or something like that. 2 independent delay algorithms. Start thinking like this. Delay algorithms. One delay algorithm is for one side. One algorithm is for the other side. That's a dual delay. That's a multi-head delay. That's like having 2 Boss DD3 pedals. Just 2 of those. You've got one for one side, one for the other. That's like a lot of people don't realize that when Ed was doing my favorite stuff, which is the right here, right now, the Roland units, the Roland units were not stereo. They were mono units. So you had one for the left and one for the right. That's another thing a lot of people don't really they don't factor in. People don't factor in that those Roland units are monos. So you had 2 mono Roland units to do the wet, dry, wet. Okay. Millennial Blues Man, how about Woodshed exceptionalism? I like that. Andy, what other people think of your business? Yeah, but it's like I like to run a nice, positive community. That's it. So this is from Earl Colley, 5607. Have you considered using both the VP-4 and the AM4 for a simplified pedal board rig? These 2 paired are amazing. What other pedals might you pair with them, if any? Gearbox and Bell. Yeah, I have thought about that. Basically, the way I'm looking at it is the AM4 is a standalone thing that lives by itself, that I don't allow myself to open Pandora's box and start building things around. If I give myself that limitation, I'm going to work the AM4 to its maximum potential. The most I would add to it would maybe be a Woodshed compressor. And then it would just be what it is. And it could live in a backpack, The VP-4 and the AM4 together, at that point, great, cool. But I would switch to the AXFX 3 or the FM9 to do that. So it's like a scaling situation. What's the issue? What's the problem? What's needed on a tool set side, and then scale the gear around that. Again, it's not because I want to have a lot of gear. It's just the nature of having a lot of different gigs that require a lot of different things. What I use for Gary LaVox and that pseudo Rascal Flatts stuff. Gary is the lead singer, and so I'm doing Joe Don's parts often. It requires a different thing than what I would do for myself, and the Skank Banger thing with Ben Eller and the 80s, Steel Panther-y kind of thing that Skank Banger is, that requires a different thing, right? It's all just, it's trying to get the right tool for the job that can make it as easy as possible, right? Johnny's in the house. He's saying, do you feel the stereo setup will affect and adjust your interpretation of phrasing? Absolutely. Because now I feel like I can let go of a note and it's not going to die and it's not going to change the way I play. I can play into the effect in the room. Yeah. Yeah. So it's really good. It's really good for inspiring me to think more melodically. And I'm not trying to think to fill up space. That's a big thing, right? When something's really dry, you end up filling up a lot of space, like the Stevie Ray Vaughan style of playing, and a lot of blues players when they're comping and chugging away. Like I'm thinking of songs like "Cold Shot" or I can't remember what the name of. What's that? I don't remember how that riff goes. Was it? Like there's a lot of motion in the right hand there, so a lot of delay and stuff's going to cloud that up. Like getting rid of that delay is going to be the right answer for that. However, if you're playing something like you're going to want a lot more delay, right? It just depends on whatever you're playing. And I think that's the most important thing, is just having the realization that there is no one size fits all. Not everything works for every riff all the time. And the sooner you make peace with that, the sooner you start like finding out what really works to exemplify the song that you're playing, the specific song that you're playing, right? Yeah. So, are you running the dual delay in parallel? Yeah, well, I mean, stereo, yes. You know. So, Andy, you're a big inspiration. Do you have any advice on how to get out of the rut of small bar gigs and how to get more opportunities? This is from Liam Covers. Liam, great question here. He says one more time, how do you have any advice to get out of the rut of small bar gigs and more opportunities? Thank you. In today's world, there's no easier way to connect with people than your cell phone, social media. If you feel like you're in a rut by playing bar gigs, reach out to guys in Nashville that have the gigs that you want, that run in the circles that you want to run in. It's like, dude, if there's a player that's in Nashville, I don't know, like, I'm like brain fart, like Travis Toy, right? Or Jim Riley, or, maybe Elia, or, who else is down there? I mean, everybody's down there, like Jerry Rowe or whoever, right? Like these players that are down there, if you're interested, nothing's going to hurt by sending a guy a message and saying, hey, can I take you to lunch? I'd love to talk shop with you. Like that, you might get a no, but you might get a yes. I mean, really, the biggest advice is networking. Running in the circles of the gigs that you want. Like you can't continuously do the same thing and expect a different result. You have to change your approach. I don't think that means running down to Nashville and playing on Broadway every night of the week. I think it means focusing what your network is and what opportunities are there. Like, golly dang, man, like, Matt that plays for Carrie Underwood. Like, if you want a gig like Carrie Underwood, call Matt and hit him up on Instagram. Say, hey, I'm gonna take you to lunch. I mean, you hit me up on Instagram, I kind of take you to lunch. I mean, I don't know if I'm free. Yeah, yeah, sure. Let's go eat pizza. You know what I mean? It's like these kind of things are so much more normal than one would realize. A great source of meeting guitar players is hang out at the gigs that the guitar players hang out at. I'll tell you this, man, if you wanted to meet every musician in Nashville, every guitar player in Nashville, you should have been at the Dan Huff show at 3rd and Lindsley. That would have been like the best networking opportunity for anybody that's trying to get into the game. Within 4 feet, I had Keith Urban to my left. Sean Tubbs was here. I mean, it was just like freaking every guitar player in Nashville was at that gig. So it's those kind of things that I think is where the advice lives. Like, you've got to be around the circles that you want to run in. Again, it doesn't mean just going to Nashville and just playing bar gigs down there. It's more about being focused. Here's the part 2 of that, and this is for Liam Covers. Part 2 of that is when somebody goes to your social media, your Instagram, your YouTube channel, what are they going to see? Like, what's on there? You know, that's a lot. There's a lot in that, right? So Music Therapy says the Boss STE 3000 goes even further, but yeah, that stereo chorus is nice. Yeah, it's really good. I'm checking I'm just checking through here in the chat. Detroit Stevie says, I was watching the rig rundown with John 5. He says his picking is super light and his left hand touch is so light. Are you like that? No, I actually have a pretty heavy picking hand, but it's more from that bluegrass background, just playing with a little bit more authority. I don't think it's right or wrong. I think it's just how I play, you know. So here we go. More questions. Dimitri says, what about ducking the delayed signal when you hit the notes, or just having a tail with delayed? That's really just fine tuning what you like. There's a specific reason I didn't really want to touch on that, because that's such a to taste thing. I might have one patch set up with a little more ducking, one with a little less. But today I was approaching things from a more scoped out, broad stroke kind of thing. Where do I start? You know, that's a very scoped in kind of thing. Andy, been a long time fan. Saw your Bet You Can't Play This video, became instant fan back in that. God, that was like 15 years ago. Back then you mentioned you were with a band called Down From Up. Yeah, that band has dissolved a long time ago. We probably played our last gig around 2012, maybe. We were out opening for bands like Seven Dust and Drowning Pool, and there was a rock band, you know. But yeah, so. Music says, Andy, is there a reason you don't use 24 fret necks, and should all manufacturers make 24 necks? This actually is a 24 fret. This is my signature model. One of the things that's interesting, let me turn on this second camera here. Very interesting comment, and apparently it worked. I didn't want, this is a 24 fret neck guitar. You can see in this second camera right there. I didn't want it to be super evident and have like a bunch of, you know, 2 big dots or anything like that. I didn't want it to, I wanted to blend in and look like a working man's guitar, you know. That's something that's very important with my signature series guitars, is I don't want them so decorated or so unique that only I like them. I think we forget that the Les Paul is a signature guitar, and it's super successful because it's not so signature to Les that it's only his, right? I don't have delusions of grandeur. I'm not comparing myself or this guitar to the Les Paul, but I am saying that there is something good about that mentality. If you look at the Steve Lukather guitar or the John Petrucci guitar, they're so classy and timeless, and like, especially the JP, the normal one. Like, anybody can play that. You don't have to play prog metal to play that guitar. Steve Lukather, you know, it's just a great looking guitar that sounds good, and it you know, it doesn't have a Toto logo on it that makes it so unique that you can't play it on any normal gig, right? That's a big thing with these. This is a, you know, from 30 or 40 feet, it just looks like a telly, you know. But yeah, we've got some surprises for NAMM. Obviously, something blue will be coming. So yeah, great question though. Dustin says Andy wanted to make it to where it looks a little more 22 fret. Yeah. Reaper says, what's the amp used here? I don't know what point in the chat that you asked that, but the 2 amps I'm using today are the Sir SL68 and the Diesel Herbert. Probably 2 of my favorite amps of all time. Diesel Herbert is a total desert island amplifier. It's one of the greatest amps ever built, in my opinion. It just sounds incredible all the time. Yeah. So Randy Smith says, anything pitchy or pitch-based messes with my brain. I can't use vibrato, though I can use tremolo. It's interesting, right? Like, you should try looking at vibrato the way Dan Huff does it, where he has it on a hold feature, to where if he wants something to warble, he just holds the button and then he takes his foot off and it goes away. I think that's a really clever way to do vibrato. Yeah, it's really good. Andy, I would love to listen to you have a conversation with Leon Todd regarding the fractal pedals. You both have done a nice job of peeling back the fractal onions of VP-4 and AM4. Kudos. Yeah, Leon is a great player, great musician, great ear for tone. Really great at all those things. I don't want to understate or undersell how good of a musician he is or how good his ear for tone and production is. He's incredibly driven. He's incredibly talented. And yeah, he's just one of the best in the game. I mean, if you want to have a good sound and you're in the fractal ecosystem, he's a great source of knowledge. Also, his tones that he gets with his amps are fantastic. Like some of his dual rectifier tones and his videos on that are second to none. I mean, I think it goes without saying, right? Yeah. Okay. So Dustin says, for example, with your Helix preset, you have the comp and 2 drives. Were the drives meant to be stacked? Was the comp supposed to be always on? Yeah, so exactly. It was meant to be a stage 1, an either or a both. That's how I would look at that if I look down on the pedal board in real life. Yeah. So Andy, what amp are you using? Yeah, we just addressed that. Yeah, with the amps. Sorry. Okay. How are you for using a delay like Halo with a fixed tempo? Have some. So Victor Kyo 3965. I use Halo on preset number 1. The only thing I change is I allow it to use an expression pedal. But yeah, right. I like it when fixed. I like delays with fixed tempos. Let me say that clearly. I like delays with fixed tempos. It makes it feel like I can hear the delay. Sometimes when things get in and they're tempo mapped, if you have delays that are tempo mapped, something that I've found is it makes the mix cloudy because every delay is on a hi-hat or a snare drum or a kick drum, or they're on another source of percussive input to the song. So tempo mapping the delays, I think, kind of sucks. Hot take, crispy hot take right there for you. I think if you're going to tempo map the delays, maybe it's something where you're playing the delay, like the dotted eighth edge U2 thing, like you're playing into the delay. Thanks for answering my question earlier. So the Halo is dual mono, right? The delays are in series. And the Halo, I don't know what kind of witchcraft's going on in that. That would be a Rob Keeley question, but I know that it bounces and it pans and things shift left to right. So, yeah. Andy, should we touch base in the group class for the once a month 30-minute private lesson hang? Johnny, yeah, all you have to do for that, this is a quick side note. On Patreon, I offer 30-minute like mentoring / it could be a lesson, it could be a mentorship, a month. And to book that, there's a Calendly link within Patreon at your tier. You simply go and pick the spot that you want, Johnny, and then you book it, and then it'll give me a notification of what time that you've booked that slot, and then we just jump in and rock. So yeah, it's really simple. Just make sure you use the Calendly link, and there you go. Steve Guava says, Andy, do you have an AM4 and opinions on it? Yeah, it's actually right there. You can see the corner of it right next to my cell phone underneath that hand towel. That's the corner of the AM4. I have about a dozen presets that will be available individually and in bundles on my website. So it's going to be really good. Yeah. They should go up, I don't know, in the next week or so. So, yeah, there you go for Johnny. Taking you to a proper 3/4 meal, right? Yeah, so there we go. Matt's a very kind and a wealth of information. Yeah, Matt's great, man. He's online all the time too. I mean, like, so Jeremy says, go to the Woodshed. Yeah, I didn't want to do a shameless plug for my event, but I mean, there, I think it's fair to say that there's not many places in the world that you can go and have a conversation with Dave Friedman, Joe Glazer, Dan Huff, Steve Morris, Eric Johnson, Brent Mason, Greg Koch, Mark Lettieri, Joe Bonamassa, Robin Ford, Tosin Abasi. All these guys have been at the event. Some of those guys have been at the event at the same time. So again, it's a bit of a shill move to say that that's a great source of connecting with people, but also being factually accurate and living by facts, not feelings. That is factually a great place to go to network with people. So take for that what you will. Miss the Christmas tree. Christmas tree gone. We got guitars back there now, right? Randy, try using the vibrato on that momentary switch. And if you're curious, Dan and Robert Baker put out a video of Dan's pedal board, and he demos that. So you have a nice source of reference to watch the maestro do it in real time, right? The fractal stuff is to me, there's so many options, but also that is just like real life. I've worked really hard, but I've also been very blessed with a lot of great opportunities, and I've spent the better part of 18 years either in the studio or live on stage with, big artists and high pressure gigs. And a lot of my experience comes from that. So when I say that I think the fractal is the most professional, by that, I just mean it's the most that simulates real life. So when I'm wondering what the 57 is when I'm moving around the cone, a lot of people ask me which IRs I use on the fractal stuff. I don't. I use the Dynacabs because it's very much like having a cabinet and moving the microphone around the cabinet. It's the closest to the UA, the way the UA kind of allows you to move the mic a little bit. The Dynacab is equally responsive, and I think that's the magic to me in the fractal stuff is the cabinet block more than anything else. It's not a static image. It's something you can manipulate. So, dealing with the things that you would typically do, like putting a high pass and a low pass on your guitar sound. That's what front of house is going to do. If you don't know what that means, that I'm not trying to use big words or fast terms or anything like that. It's just something that if you know what that is, it's easy to go do it in the fractal and just, and in the right spot, post the correct things and pre the other things. A lot of guys that say they don't use reverb, that doesn't mean that their front of house guy's not adding a little bit of reverb, right? You see what I'm saying? Like a singer doesn't use reverb. The front of house guy adds reverb. So your high pass and low pass, that needs to come before the reverb happens, right? Things like that, signal chain. It's the most authentic to real life. So yeah, I mean, sure. It's like a lot of people probably think that I'm getting a paycheck from Fractal, which I'm not, nor have I ever gotten paid to use Fractal gear. I do have a great relationship with them, and I am a beta tester for a lot of things. I don't think that's a big secret, especially when you open up a piece of gear and my presets are in there from the factory. But being completely transparent with you guys, that's a big part of what's important to me. So no, I don't get a paycheck from Fractal. I don't have a signature product with Fractal. I mean, I think it's fair to say with other signature products, there are financial compensation, but, with Fractal, there's something that happened early on that was really important to me. Fractal had come out of the gate, and they had really made people wake up and take notice with the initial Axe effects, because it was like, hey, before that it was the pod, right? And the Axe effects came out, and people were like, holy crap. Not only is it this amp modeling thing, but the effect algorithms are just incredible. Then the Axe effects 2 happened. Well, about that same point in life, I was coming out of the Down From Up gig, and I had just gotten hired to be the musical director for Scott Stapp's Proof of Life tour. That tour was really important for me because that was my big first A-list gig. Like Creed and Scott had split up. Scott had cut a record with Howard Benson, and a big producer, and the Creed guys had done Alter Bridge, and Scott was putting together a band, and I he hired me not only to play guitar, which is a high pressure scenario in that environment, but also to be the band leader. At that point, I didn't have a resume, and the Fractal guys, I contacted them, and they were so kind. They wanted me to take out the Fractal Axe 2 and try it, so they gave it to me, and it was in return, I would provide feedback from being on the road and what it was like, because I wasn't using the Fractal as a standalone unit. I was using it in stereo with this Diesel Herbert specifically, and the Rhodes Colossus that's sitting on the other side of the wall over there. And they wanted to know my feedback of using it in a hybrid rig with amps and the Fractal as just an effects only thing. That at that moment in time was really important to me because I didn't have a budget, I didn't have a resume, and they wanted to work with me when I didn't have the things that I have to offer a manufacturer today in 2026. Like, my resume and my career is in a very different point in today's world versus where it was in 2013, right? It's completely different. You know, past 14 years have been unbelievable. So, you know, on that side of it, as that company has grown, you know, Matt and Cliff and those guys, and they've heard me out when I've said things. I know for a fact that I'm one of the loudest voices that was saying, just make a unit with just effects in it. I don't need the amps. I've got my amps. I know for a fact I was one of the loudest voices in that camp. So I'm definitely not saying that VP-4 was because of me, but I'm for sure saying that they heard me yelling it from the mountaintop. Why don't you just make this? That's all I use, right? So that's my history and my story with Fractal, and it's not a story that's over. It's not a story that's written. I've enjoyed watching them take products in different directions, and especially on the software side, seeing what they've accomplished and what they've been able to do. And, you know, they're the market leader. They're the 800-pound gorilla. Like everybody else, you know, Quad Cortex exists because Fractal paved the way for it. You know, Line 6 was the original, and Fractal was the one that says, okay, let's take everything up to a million. Crank the faders to a million. What if it just costs what it costs and it's in a black box? You know, that was really the mentality behind Fractal. It's just going to cost what it costs. And I like that because that made it play ball with 2290. That made it play ball with Eventide. That made it play ball with these, like, you know, dominant forces. And you can compare this VP-4 to the H9, brother. I mean, Eventide's great, but I'd take that VP-4. I think they've mastered the workflow, they've mastered the UI, and everything that you want to do, you can do. You just have to figure out how you're going to do it. Very much like going to Bob Bradshaw or, you know, LA Rack Systems, Dave Friedman, and saying, hey, I'm going to build a rig. Like that's what you do in the Fractal. You kind of go at it with like, here's everything, I just need to build it, right? Interesting, right? Interesting thing. So, didn't mean to bore you with a little back history, but, you know, I think it's kind of a interesting story, and there's a lot of love for that company because they did give me an opportunity when I didn't have this more stacked resume that I have now. So, yeah. So Halo Board says, Andy, building a hybrid studio rig for composition around a 20-watt PV amp Invective. Would a VP-4 be the great fit in the effects loop for the delay modulation? Yeah, actually, especially if it's going to stay put, you might want to look at what if the Invective, this is a what if. What if the Invective is going into a load box like what I'm saying, and then the Fractal is after the load box, right? So if you're going to have the Invective and it goes into a SIR reactive load, now you go from the SIR reactive load into the VP-4, and then you can have your effects that way. Another thing is record the Invective dry and put the VP-4 on a bus, and then you can send the whole dry signal and mix your effects post, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think Andy Timmons runs his delay on a bus when he's doing it so he can mix it in, you know. Really interesting. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. Yeah, cheers, guys. You know, you know, the gratitude is a two-way street. I appreciate you guys chiming in week after week and hanging out with us and letting this hang be what it is and become a cool little corner of the guitar community. And I enjoy live streaming far more than making videos or whatever, because I feel like we're all hanging out in a room, you know. So with that said, I think there's minimal housekeeping. We've talked about the Patreon. You can jump on there. There's, you know, I'm going to be uploading those Fractal XFX tones, the AM4 tones to that. So that's going to be coming down the pike. And then there's the Woodshed guitar experience. And then, of course, there's the AndyWoodMusic.com. The AndyWoodMusic.com is where you can buy the transcriptions and the backing tracks to my songs on my album. You can buy the tone packs and all that kind of stuff. You can buy a T-shirt, and you know, I've really been pleased with the new T-shirts. They look cool. You know, there's one with the chicken on it, and then the sheriff, the space sheriff lady, and then there's one with a headstock and an amplifier. You know, it looks good. I've been a big fan of the Pedal Show and how they do their merch. So I've been kind of being like, hey, make something that looks cool first. And then if it has your logo on it, great. Right. So, you know, appreciate you guys. I'm going to be working on the Shiprock stuff. If anybody's interested in that, Shiprock is another one of those super tight family environments that I look at between where I was when Shiprock started and where I am now, way back when I was doing Down From Up. I got a call to be on Shiprock, and this was one of those, like, you know, go on at 2:00 in the afternoon. I mean, I was a young punk, and you know, I thought the more notes the better, and the more shred the better. And the folks at Shiprock gave me an opportunity, you know, years ago, and as my career has grown into what it is, I've been very blessed to still work with those guys to this day. And they've entrusted me with more and more responsibility. I no longer go on at 2:00 in the afternoon, you know, and the Shiprock family and the modern rock community in general, you know, I'm friends with a lot of those guys throughout that community. It's kind of ironic. I don't really play that kind of music or work in any of those bands, but a lot of those guys are dear friends of mine. I'm friends with the guys from the guitar player from Lamb of God, friends with basically all the guitar players, right? We're all buddies, right? Shiprock is how I became friends with Rex from Pantera, which is like, you know, that's crazy to say, but he's a buddy of mine. And, you know, it's just kind of interesting the way those worlds work. But I think the important point that I want to say is those guys gave me an opportunity before I had a resume. You know, they let me go and play my instrumental guitar music at 2:00 in the afternoon or whenever it was, you know, behind the soda machine, you know. And as my career grew into the things that it's done, you know, now it's kind of fun to look at how things have grown. But with all of that said and all that love for those guys, we'll be setting sail a week from this Saturday or Sunday, a week from this Sunday. And that's a great event, man. And if you guys like hard rock and you like bands like, God, I mean, who else been on that thing? They've had everybody. Korn's been on it. Godsmack's been on it. Alter Bridge's been on it. Breaking Benjamin, I think, has been on it. This year, Hellstorm's on it with Motionless in White. I mean, God, a lot of killer bands have been on that thing year after year. And we've got a really great Stowaways set. The Stowaways, in a lot of ways, is kind of like the big finale. It's a bit like the way a Grammy or an award show would work. Not that we're giving away awards, but in the fact that we're building these super bands. So it may be the drummer from this band with the guitar player from this band. It's really great. It's really, really great. It's become a big feature of the ship and the brand, and there's a lot of love for those guys. And, you know, it's going to be a blast again this year. And a lot of the work that I'm doing right now on the VP-4 is with the mindset of going on to Shiprock. You know, I'm in an interesting position because I'm doing my solo stuff and I'm doing, things like this, quote unquote, real gigs. And then I'm YouTubing and live streaming in the midst of it. And the way I kind of deal with it is I just kind of combine all of my workflow together. So today I wanted to talk about VP-4. That's because I'm programming the VP-4 for Shiprock. And it's learning to multitask, get your exhaust content that you've got to do over here to feed the thing that goes over here and vice versa. Right. So, we'll be out. So two weeks from today, there'll be no live stream because I'll be on the 7 Seas with the Shiprock thing. It's really great. The ship is full this year. They sell that thing out in a hurry. So, if you're interested, Shiprock, 2027 will be, I can't believe I'm saying that. It doesn't even seem real, but it'll be opening up, I think, after the cruise rolls around this year. So it's really, really great. There's Greg Goldberg in the house. Hey, look here. If you need some love for some gear, there's a couple of places that I highly recommend that are friends of the channel. One of which is AMS. Sweetwater is another. Guitar Sanctuary is another. Open Chord's another. I'm very blessed to be friends with a lot of these guys, a lot of these dealers. And if you need gear, that's where to go. Go get your stuff from them. And Greg and the AMS team, they set up a store on the boat, and it's like a demo room, and we do all kinds of fun stuff. We do a guitar competition, a shred off that I get to judge, and we do a drum off, and it's it's Greg and Squiggy and the guys. It's fantastic. So can't wait to hang and bring the fellowship back yet again to a brand new ship this year, which is great. So if anybody's curious about that, shiprock.com, Chuck has pinned it up there, and we'll be on it. We'll be rocking. I'll have the mighty Ben Eller in my trio as per usual, and then Andy Campbell on the drum kit per usual. And bringing a media team this year. I'm bringing a young lady to film and photograph everything so I can document and get you guys more content. And then I'm bringing my man Dylan for the lighting rig this year, which stepping it up. John Cooper on guitar tech, as per usual. And yeah, it's going to be really exciting, man. We've got a really great 2 sets for Stowaways and then my Andy Wood trio set. So it's going to be really fun. Going to be a good time, but it's a lot of work. And speaking of, it is 4:37 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, which means I need to bid you all a farewell and dig into the task at hand. We've got some tunes to learn. We've got some tunes to review. We got some tones to build. So there's a lot of work to be done. Excited about it, and I hope everyone has a great Tuesday afternoon here. Thanks for hanging out, my friends at NAMM. You'll see Chuck. If you see him, give him a crispy high five. This is the opportunity. We're going to start doing it every week. We got to buy Chuck a Ferrari or a McLaren. We got to do it. So the way we're going to do that, you guys are going to go to andywoodmusic.com and buy a t-shirt. And that's going to go towards Chuck's McLaren fund. I think we're going to just get it going. We're going to see how long the general public will take to buy Chuck a McLaren. I feel like he works hard. He needs this car. It's going to make him the coolest guy in the room for sure. So here it is. Starting today, buy Chuck a McLaren. And you do that by going to andywoodmusic.com and picking up a shirt. That's going to get that guy in a fast car. And it needs to happen. I need to see this. I need to see it come to fruition. I think it'd be the greatest thing ever. I'm just going to wave a checkered flag when he gets it, right? All right, so guys, that's it. Thanks for hanging out. As always, I appreciate you. Much love. Be blessed. And we'll see you all really, really soon.